Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Reckless Optimist podcast. My name is Megan. I'm a family nurse practitioner with a deep passion for mental health. On this show, we showcase guests who have shown tenacity, grit, mental strength, and who embody the word resilience. A quick disclaimer before we start. This show is not a substitute for mental diagnosis or treatment. We do recommend that if you're struggling with your own emotional well-being, you see a mental health provider. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Freddie. I met Freddie a few weeks ago at a race here in Georgia. And we actually found out that we've been following each other on social media for years and didn't even know it. So he's a really fun guy. He has an interesting story, a great energy. He's really passionate. He has gone through a very transformative weight loss. He's lost 120 pounds. And he went from being 350 pounds, sitting on his couch depressed, to now running marathons. He has his own run club in Gwinnett and his own race series. He's putting on races all over Gwinnett County. And I know you guys are going to love this story. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Help me welcome Freddie to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. I've been excited about this upcoming interview.
Yay. I know. I'm so excited we're doing this. So I have to tell the listeners how me and you met because it's actually a really funny story.
Yeah.
So I was at a race. I was about to run a 10K that was important for me because I was trying to PR every race distance at this age of 40. And I met you and your friends who were awesome, by the way. I loved every single friend. You guys were like at the front, just like hyping everyone up, dancing. And I was like, cool, I'm going to stand with them. And we started talking and, you were telling me about the time that you wanted to get and all the running that you've been doing and your weight loss journey. And then after the race, we found out that we follow each other on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was awesome because I was reading his story and everything. I was just like, wow, that's really cool to be sober for this amount of time and you just focusing so much on your own journey and running and stuff. And we talked and we had a really good conversation. And I was like, okay, let me go, let me find her. And so I was like, shit, we're already following each other. Like that was just the funniest thing to me. I was like, oh, hey, we actually know each other. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's just small world for sure.
It is because I remember following you because I found you through like a running thing. And I was like, oh, wow, he lives in my area and look at his journey and he's running so well. And you have a running group and like races that you do. And so then when I figured out who you were, I was like, oh my gosh, that's that same guy.
Yeah, because you don't expect to just run, you just run into people like that or whatever. If you know them, you talk to them a while, that's one thing. And you see them, you recognize them. But I don't think we've actually had like conversations, prior to the race. So it would have just flown under the radar regardless. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was really cool. It's just really funny how we just met each other. We'd already been following each other and knowing each other's stories. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to comment about your friend. He was a really, really good runner, but he knew that you wanted to reach this goal. It was, I think you were trying to run it under 26 minutes, your 5K,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And then he was doing the 15K, but he held back so he could pace you for your race. And I thought that was such a good friend.
Yeah, he's like a little brother to me. Don, he is a machine. He's been helping me train and get things together and stuff. And it's the second time he's paced me on a run and he's helped me set PRs on both of them. The first one, it was just setting a PR at the course that we were at. And this one we just did, I was trying to get under my PR time, which was 26:51. So as long as I did under that, it was fine. But I really wanted to do sub 26 if possible. And I didn't even think I was going to get there. And he was like, he was filming us and he was like, yeah, I set sub 26, but let's see what happens. I got 25:59. That was just very insane. And then dude finished, turned around and ran and won the 15K. Like, I'm just like, how is it that you paced me and then turned around, turned on the Jets and then won and beat everybody? That was just the most insane thing ever. But that's him. That's what Don does. Selfless and he gets a reward.
He was churning and burning because I saw him because I did the 10K, right? So I was doing the middle distance and he was flying out there. I was like, go boy, go.
Yeah, that's him. That's how he is. I mean, but he's a good guy. He literally does, really good there. Don Wilson, he's a personal trainer of mine. He has this his own company called Heart on Fire. Like, I mean, he's really good at what he does and he prioritizes runners. And so he knows what they need and he works to make sure they get exactly what it is that he's doing. So we're not doing all this extra crazy stuff. He's focusing, specifically on stuff. And we celebrate, when we hit our goals, all, the people that he's working with, they've been hitting goals. So it's just like, it's working. So, I'm here for it.
Yeah, he had a really fun energy. You could tell he was intense and like a super athlete,
That is him for sure. Yeah. Yeah. But I love it.
Well, so just because I think it's really interesting, what was your very first 5K time?
My very first 5K time was 46:10. It was March 18th, 2023. It was my mother's 60th birthday. And we
Okay.
were in California, ran it. Um, and that's kind of where my journey started. I was 350 pounds. And one day I saw my daughter, and my eyes were so blurry, I could barely see her. I knew which child it was because I have two daughters, but I could barely see her. So I went to a doctor, who was like, okay, so you know you're pre diabetic. Your A1C levels are so high that if you don't start making changes, you're going to be type 2 diabetic. So I started, eating better, and then I was like, I need to do something fitness wise. And a friend told me, "Hey, why don't you start walking?" I'm okay, cool. And so I did that. It's like the minute you can get under 16 minutes per mile, that's when you need to start running. And so as soon as I did that, I started my program and everything. And I was like, well, why not? Like we're gonna surprise my mom for her birthday. Why don't I go ahead and sign up for a 5K? So I did that, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. I just wanted to run without stopping. And so I did that, and I did 46:10. So 2 years later, to see that I've almost clipped that time by 20 minutes is just that's just crazy to me.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear more about that. Before we get into your story, we're going to start our episode out with a quote like we do each time. And the quote for your episode is from my favorite runner of all time, Steve Prefontaine, also known as Pre.
Mm.
So the quote goes, "A lot of people run a race to see who is the fastest. I run to see who has the most guts, who can punish himself into an exhausting pace, and then at the end, punish himself even more." What does that quote mean to you?
I mean, just looking at the quote itself, someone who is willing to go all in and leave everything, just release everything in the tank. And even though you've squeezed every bit of it out, you keep going and even more just to see how far you can go. I mean, that can be anything. It could be a race, it could be something in life. It's just a matter of giving your all. And when you think like you've given everything that you can, trying to see what else is left. It's just a matter of not being mediocre, not being someone who's okay with status quo. You're going all in. You're determined. You're disciplined. Maybe even not that, but you're motivated to be like, "But let's do this. Let's see what happens, and let's give our all." So that way, at the end of it, when the smoke clears, we can say we tried our very best, and it's not a cliche saying that's being said. You actually gave your all and attempted to do your very best, and you left it all there. And there's no doubt that you did that and then some.
Yeah, that was very well said. Absolutely. You know, Steve Prefontaine coined the term or one of the icons of what's called front running. So the style of his running was so unique. He would go out 110%. Like he would go balls to the wall at the beginning of the race and then he held on to that pace the
Hmm.
entire time for dear life. I mean, he was a rebel in the running world. So when I hear this quote, I think about, just the grit. I respect the grit in Steve and I respect the grit that it's talking about in this quote. I also think there's so many ways you could like translate this to life too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like giving all to your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any avenue, whether it's something you're going through that's hard, something at work, relationship wise, like don't just half ass it, put every single thing in because you got one life, one chance on this earth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important. I mean, and that's a valid point there. Look, we're not getting any younger, and after a certain point, YOLO, you only live once. But I mean, but it's true. The saying is true. You only have one life. So if you're gonna be here, you might as well give everything you have because to be able to say, you know what, I did what I set out to do, and then I was able to push and go even further. It's gonna be a whole lot better than sitting on the couch saying, "What the fuck did I do with my life?" I mean, I'm sitting here like wasting away, like I haven't done anything. I don't want to be that person, and I've been that person for so long in my life, and that's why I got up to 350 pounds. And I'm not knocking anybody that has any issues with their own weight. Again, I'm 235 now. And it took a lot of work and it took a life changing moment for me to start making changes in the other direction. And now I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to give it my all. There's going to be days where I fall down. I'm going to get back up and keep going, but I'm not going to let that fall hinder me from doing what I know that I can do and then pushing further to see what else I can do after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a great segue. I'm very excited to hear your story. So wherever you feel comfortable, just take us back.
Okay. So, as I mentioned, prior to, the start of this, for 18 years, I was a Bible believer. I was a Christian. I now identify as agnostic. I have no issues with people who are still members of the faith. And please hear me, for those listening, my issue is not with anyone who is a Christian. It's those who are legalistic. It's those who, use the Bible to thump other people, those who claim to be, followers of Christ, but are not loving at all. And you can see it in everything they say or do. I don't want to have anything to do with them. personally, my own story has led me down a path to where there's just things I can't, I don't agree with, and things that just don't line up anymore for me personally. But for 18 years of my life, from the time I was 17 until 35, that's all I had. And from the time I was 20 until 24, I was a part of this traveling singing ministry that I thought was going to be encouraging, lifting, was going to get me to where I needed to be, have me stronger in my faith, just be this positive influence. Where there were some nuggets, there was some, moments of that there, but there was a lot of things where there's a lot of indoctrination, a lot of brainwashing and stuff like that. And essentially, I was a part of a cult, and I was in it for 4 years. They gave me scholarship to go to school. I ended up doing that. But before that happened, I injured myself my third year. I was there 4 years. My third year in the ministry, I injured my right knee. I tried to do a back handspring and landed incorrectly and broke my knee. And that was pretty much it. I couldn't run, couldn't jump. I'm never going to try to flip again. Like I'm done with that. I was 21, 22 years old. And I stopped doing that. So I wasn't as mobile as I used to be. At that point, I was probably 215 pounds. And I got pulled off the road, and I had a buddy that was there with me. He's like, "Hey man, you're here. Let's go ahead and get to the gym and start pumping so you start get shredded." So I'm like, okay. And so he's like, "You need to bulk up." So you start eating. So I started eating more, and I was working out, and it was fine while I was working out, to be able to eat. It's not a problem. Then he went to college, and I continued to eat, but I stopped working out. And when I got on the scale for the first time and saw that I was 240 pounds, I got nervous. I'm like, it's okay. Stuff happens. It's not the end of the world. Fast forward to 2022, and I was 350 pounds. And it was rough. Like I said, I had two daughters. And, one day, one of my kids, came up to me, and I just saw her, and I could barely see her. And I was like, okay, something needs to change. So I went and, talked to a doctor, and they said, "You already know about your A1C levels," because I've already been checked on that. I knew I was pre-diabetic, but I didn't make the changes I needed to. I tried. Prior to that moment, I tried Nutrisystem. I tried clean eating. I tried CrossFit. I tried everything that you could think of. And most people will sit there and say, when I eventually tell them how I started going to where I am now, they'll say that I cheated, or, I took, a shortcut. I give no fucks about that. I tried to survive, and I did everything I could to survive. And so the route that I went is what helped me get there, but I'm going to get there in a moment. That moment where I was just like, okay, I need to make a change. That's when I started walking. I started C2 5K. I did the first session of that and quit after the first one. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm like, this is too hard. And I was only running for like 90 seconds, 60 seconds or whatever, and then walk, but it was too hard for me. Then 2 weeks later, I was like, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. And so I jumped into it again, and it became a little bit easier, more tolerable to do that. So once I realized, okay, this is something that I can go ahead and do, I just went for it, and I just got hungry for it. And I was like, okay, there's a 5K that's not too far from my house. It's in May. I'm going to go ahead and sign up for that. But the biggest one that actually became my first 5K was the one I did for my mom's birthday out in California. That's originally where I'm from. I went out there, I surprised her for her 60th, and I was like, why don't I run a 5K while I'm out here? And that's when I did that. So, I went from walking to within about 2 months running my first 5K, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about the running. Yeah, I wanted to ask you some follow-up questions about your story.
Absolutely.
So, when you were younger and you had put on the weight, how do you feel like that affected your view of life and your relationships with people and your mental health?
That's a great question. I try not to be a sensitive person. I try my best not to be triggered by things that are said to me. But, as a kid, I was very out there, very energetic. You saw, the group that, my friends in my run club and everything like that. We are definitely like the life of the party. We like having a good time. Now, when I was younger, I got picked on for that. I got bullied. I have ADHD, a lot of these different things. So name calling words that would affect me big time. When I started gaining weight and I was called big guy, and I went to my high school reunion, I was called fat and all these other things. It would get to me. And I turned to food for comfort. I turned to food when I was down, when I was depressed. Pretty much I used anything as an excuse to continue to eat. And the scale just started creeping up, and it started affecting me mentally a lot, because I started looking at myself and seeing, I do not like what I look like. I don't. I would see pictures of myself. I'm a music teacher, and I would see pictures of myself and my students, and I'm just like, dude, I'm a lot bigger than what I want to be. Like, I want to change. And that's when I started trying to do all these different things, and it wasn't working. No, I actually started losing weight, and I was working on that, and I was working on that process early on. When I was seeing someone, I was dating her, we got engaged, we eventually got married, and life kind of carried on. And then I stopped going to the gym. I got engaged and I stopped going to the gym. It was like, that's when I probably should have kept working out, but I kind of took a break. And she was pregnant with our first child, and she had pregnancy cravings, and for support, I went ahead and ate right along with her. And so I got up to 280. And then I saw a friend of mine and he was in the threes. And I'm like, okay, that's never going to be me. I'm never going to get to 300. By now we have 2 kids. And I get to the scale and one day just randomly to see where I am. And I saw 312. I was like, okay, now I'm all the way up here. And so obviously I'm depressed. I continue to eat and I'm still doing that, trying to go back and forth. I tried so many different things, but one day I woke up and saw 350. I was like, I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to die early. Like, I mean, my body would shake when I would eat something with sugar in it. I had a hard time walking. Every time I leaned over, like blood rushed through my head. I was about to pass out. And there was just so many things wrong with my health. And I tried so hard to turn it around, but I just could not do it. It was difficult. So like mentally, yeah, I mean, it affected me a lot. Like I said, I was one of those people that just sat on the couch and just let my life waste away. I just was not motivated to do anything. Just someone randomly was like, hey, start walking. And they were supposed to walk with me. And they were like, oh, dude, I can't make it today. And I had a decision that day. I was like, okay, do I go home or do I go ahead and walk? And I got my ass out of my car and I walked. And that's what started everything.
Heck yeah, you showed up for yourself.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing the math right, that's 120 pounds. Is that right?
Roughly. Yeah. Yeah. I would say,
Yeah.
yeah, 350 down to, yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit over
That's
120.
it's crazy because like think about right now
Mhm.
putting on a 120-pound weight vest and walking around all day. How
Mhm.
tired would you be?
Oh, very, very
Yeah.
exhausted. Even with the
Yeah.
conditioning and stuff I'm doing now, I can handle that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild when you think about it that way. So I'm very curious, how did you lose the weight? What steps did you take? What nutrition goals? Kind of give us that take.
Yeah. So I am an advocate for weight loss injection shots. And the reason being is because it curbed my appetite. Now, people will say, oh, Ozempic does all this stuff, whatever, it's cheating. Cool. That's what you think. That's totally fine. I didn't use Ozempic. I used something called Zepbound because I don't have diabetes. So my primary care physician is the one that recommended it. He's used it. It's worked for him. It curbed my appetite, but I still had to do the work. So not only did I take the injection, I started eating better. Like I started eating low calorie, low carb, everything. I don't drink sugary drinks anymore just because sugar just kind of irritates me. So I started watching what I was eating. I started cutting down the bread. That was hard, but you start doing that. And slowly but surely, it started to come off. And then it rapidly came off because I was 320-ish in 2024. So I got on Zepbound and I started going down. Like I'm still in the threes. By the end of that year, I was in the twos. When I eventually ran my first marathon in March. And I mean, that's a crazy feat in itself, but I was 260 and now I'm at 230. So like, I mean, I've worked hard. It's not just the shot because, there are days where that doesn't work either. I have to get up. I have to make sure I have to make decisions and decide. It just kind of helps me curb my appetite enough to where, look, I'm going to go ahead and do what I got to do. Let me go work out. For the summer of 2024, I walked 3 miles every morning. I would take my kids to camp. I would go back to a park and run or walk another 3. So I would put in at least 6 miles a day, 5 days a week. I was doing 30 miles per week because I was hungry. I was like, you know what? Not literally, but, but like figuratively, I was like, I want to get better. I want to be, smaller. And again, I didn't deny myself. Like, I mean, I made sure I followed my plan and everything, but that was a big reason. It was just like, I decided, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm going to go ahead and do what I got to do. And I took maybe 3 or 4 months off from doing any kind of races of any kind because I had some, family issues going on. And then I jumped back into running and, I've just kind of gone full speed ahead since then. That's where I got it. That's what allowed me to start losing the weight. And then the running, it just picked up from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I prescribe GLP-1s. I'm a medical provider here in my county,
Work.
and it's definitely a hot topic, sometimes polarizing topic. I think for the right patient, it can be magic. It can be life-changing. It can be extremely beneficial. You did it the right way in terms of you started to eat healthy, you exercise. Some people just want to take the shot and not do anything else, and that's where they're not going to see the benefits or they're not going to change their relationship with food. Because essentially that's what you have to do to have sustainable weight loss is you have to have a completely new belief system about how food is fuel and it's not for dopamine hits,
Yeah. And that's not easy. I mean, it really isn't
No.
to give up on things that gave you comfort, that gave you joy, or was just your go-to thing. There were times I'm not even hungry. I would just randomly eat. It become a habit. And it's just like, you have to stop those things. It becomes a matter of discipline after a while. And I'm not the best with discipline. That's how I got up to 350 in the first place. But the minute when I realized that I had goals, I had things I wanted to do, it changed everything. And I applied that in everything. Like even with running, the first time I set a Yeah, I'd laugh at it now, but like last year when I ran 40-minute 5K for the first time, when I got in, I saw a 40. I was like, holy hell. Like, I mean, because for the longest time, it was 46, 48, 52, 56. I'm like, it was never anywhere under that. The first time I saw that, the reason why I got there is because I had to make a decision because I was on mile two going into my third mile. I was like, how bad do you want this? And mentally, that's what locked me in. I was like, okay, it's going to be hard, but how bad do you want to get down to a 40-minute 5K? And so I ran and I tried to give everything I could. And then I was getting closer to the finish line. And my friend Valerie, who I will forever, a debt of gratitude, because if there was no Valerie, there would be no Metro Mile Mafia, which is the name of our run club. Because when I told people, hey, let's walk, let's run or whatever, she was the one that said, let's do it. And that's where the, run club started to grow. But she saw me. She had already finished her 5K, came back and paced me to the finish line. She said, you see that 40? Go finish. And I'm like, okay. And that was it. She's a no nonsense person. I love her. And, she's great. But yeah, that was it that pushed me. And I'm just like, I use that on everything. How bad do you want it? So when I look to my weight and everything like that, and I would go try to get something knowing I'm not supposed to eat it, how bad do you want to be where where you want to be? How bad do you want to get there? Use that and apply it. That was my mindset. That was a long ass
Yeah.
summer, but it was a very rewarding summer because I saw a lot of change in, my whole mental thinking and stuff. And that's geared me up to where I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, to go back to the food the episode that I just did before you, I had the author of a book called Big Boned,
Mm,
which that is a book about weight, like binge eating and food addiction. And
yeah.
so she talks about her relationship with food as an addiction. I think some people think, oh, you can't be addicted to food. 100% you can numb out from food. It is a proven scientific thing.
Yes.
You can binge eat, you can restrict. There's all different relationships you can have with food in order to have some type of effect in your brain. And
Yes.
then I also want to comment on in America, our food is quote unquote poisoned and is extremely hard to lose
Mhm.
weight in America. The food has so much processed sugar. It is an uphill battle. It is not easy to maintain a low weight.
Yeah. No, agreed. And that was the biggest thing. That's why I fought it. It tastes so good, to the point to where it's like I hate, I hated the healthy stuff, the vegetables and stuff. I'm still fighting to try to get there, especially the ones that like broccoli. And I'm gonna just stay the hell away from that. But no, I had to start making changes when I was doing better. When I start throwing some, peppers and onions, throwing some seasoning like low calorie or zero, season there like sodium free, to make it taste better. Because like I was sitting there fighting for my life, like this shit tastes terrible, and I'm like, I really don't want this, but again, how bad do you want this? And I saw myself fighting with myself, like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. I became that person where I was like, man, I'm looking forward to having my Greek yogurt and fruit and throwing some fruit in there. I was like, who the is this person? I'm like, I was never that person. And now I'm sitting there like eating yogurt and stuff. And I was like, dude, who are you? Saying it to myself, other people saying it to me, but again, I made those changes because I knew there was something else, somewhere I wanted to be. But I mean, I went back to school last summer just to kind of, get prepared to go start teaching again. Everybody started noticing it. I didn't notice the weight loss until they said something. But then a month later, the clothes that I wore for my first day of school, I couldn't wear those anymore. And I'm like, okay, got it. That's what I was going for. Now it's working. So like if you want this, you go for it. It's that simple. The longer you get into this, if you truly want it and you see the results, that's not the time to stop. That's the time you just dig in even more and just keep going. Like you said, preset, run, pour your guts out, and then do even more. I mean, that's where I was at that point. I was, oh yeah, let's just keep going. We see the results. Let's go, until the finish line and go another 5-6 miles after that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting with food. I was laughing because I kind of had the same experience. I didn't lose as much weight as you, but I lost 55 pounds through
It's amazing.
drastically changing my nutrition. But for me, I noticed like when I would eat sugary foods, I craved sugary foods. But eventually, it took some time, maybe a month. I was only eating healthy, extremely healthy. I crave the healthy foods. It's like you're either one way or the other, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and see, that's what running has done for me, like, even walking, like, all summer, like, my run club, we actually walked all summer, I mean, some of us would run after, but, like, we started doing that too, but anytime my body felt like we were outdoors and we were near a park, "Are we going running today?" It's like a dog, "We going running? Are we going?" "No," my body's mad at me, like, it's just so funny how I switched from being I don't want to go out here and do this anymore to, are we going? Are we going to run? Like, I mean, it's just like my body is now, conditioned to say, let's go do these things. It's all about, building habits, good or bad. The more you do something, the more of a habit it becomes. And you just have to decide which habit you want to latch onto so you can decide, the direction your life's going to go. And, me personally, after seeing what has been working for me, I would love to latch onto the good habits that are giving me these results. Cause, again, I don't see myself as someone important. I'm never going to see that. But a person saw our run club and she saw it and joined us. And she was like, I don't know if I can do this. I see what you've done. I just don't know if that's going to be me. I was like, who you are right now is not going to be the same person 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. So let's not worry about where I am now. Let's focus on where you're going to be and let's fight hard to get there. She's run 3 5Ks. She's recruited her family to run the 5Ks with us. They've joined the run club. She brought her coworkers to join the run club. She started a walking club at her school. This chick is just on fire. And I'm just like, you know what? Again, had there not been a Valerie, there'd be no run club. There'd be none of this. If I didn't take the chance to, get out of my car and actually walk that day, this wouldn't happen. So even though I don't take myself as someone that's important and special, I understand that my one step is what is starting to, inspire other people.
Heck yeah, I think that's the butterfly effect of it all, right? The quantum entanglement theory, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I can
Yeah,
see
how
that.
one change can affect so many other people, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, like for real. Like again, if I didn't do this, everything could have went a different route. If I didn't go for that backflip and land properly, there's no telling where I would be in life right now because many have been in better condition and done so many other different things in my life. But if I sit there and think about what if in the past and be like, and just kind of cling to that, I can't enjoy where I am in the present and see where I'm going in the future. So yeah, all these things that happened to me that were not great, they are adding to my story and they're helping me share, like, look, it led me up to 350. It's not what I wanted, but one day I just said enough is enough and I made changes. Look at where my life is now. Look at other people who have been affected, impacted by it. And let's just, like I said, let's start making those changes and do what we got to do to just make this world, better. Like I said, one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask you about your running. So, about specifically the marathon of it all, because I have run a bunch of marathons. I started running them when I was young. I think I ran my first one, I was early 20s, but a marathon is a journey. You can't fake a marathon, right? And by that, I mean, you can't just go out and run one. You have to diligently train. So, kind of give us that take. How did the training go? How was that experience for you?
Okay, so that experience, all I will say is that this next one that I'm going to run in March in Atlanta is going to be a revenge run because everything that I could feel, everything I could think of, I put everything I had into that training. What I mean by that, I'm not talking about the training itself. Last year around this time, I made a post on Facebook that said, hey, I just started running again. If you have never run a race before and you want to do one, please sign up and I will come to you and run it with you. It doesn't matter what distance it is. And I said, I'll be ready for these races by this time. And someone said, hey, let's run the Los Angeles Marathon. Of course, that's the one that people was like, yeah, let's do that. That's the only person that said, let's run a race. And, we can run it together. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, are you talking about the one in March? He's like, well, I meant 2026, but sure, let's do the one in March. I was like, why am I talking? Like, well, I'm shooting myself in the foot here, right? So, okay. So now it's shifted to now I have to start training for the races, the distances I haven't even done yet. I had yet to do a 10K, yet to do a half, and obviously never done a marathon. So I started training for the half marathon first. I didn't care about the 10K. I was like, look, at some point I'll run that, but I'm not worried about it. Started doing my half marathon training, which was for the Golden Gate half out in San Francisco. For some reason, all of my first, with the exception of the 10K, had to take place in California. It just so happened that way. The 5K, the half, and the marathon, all of them were in California. But I started my training and I was excited about the half and just going through everything. Like I fell in love with running. Like I was addicted. Again, I was running all the time. The Metro Mile Mafia just got formed. Started with 2. By the end of the year, we had 6. One of those persons ran a half Ironman a couple months ago. She's about to do her second. She's a total badass. Doing all my training, I was feeling good. I was like, okay, cool. I'm good. I did the half marathon in San Francisco with inflammation in my knees because the day before I did a race over there, a 5K, because I wanted to get multiple medals. And, my knees were just they were not cutting it. So it took me 3 hours to run that half marathon. And I was like, I don't know if I actually want to run a marathon anymore. Like I legitimately was saying it to myself. I don't think I want to do this. And I had a run coach before Don, and he was like, told you not to try to go for a PR on that 5K. I was like, yeah, you're right. And so, I should have listened to that, but mentally, how grueling it was to do a half marathon, especially across the Golden Gate Bridge and back. So it took me a good 2 weeks to start training again for the marathon. And I started skipping weeks. Like I started skipping long runs. You have to do these runs. But on top of that, I kept doing 5Ks and like, cause I love the distance. I was loving to do 5Ks and stuff. So I kept doing 5Ks. And he was trying to tell me, dude, you have to start thinking about the marathon. You have to start focusing on the marathon. And eventually it clicked. I was like, okay. So I started cutting back on my 5Ks. I didn't stop them altogether, but I just didn't run as many. And I tried to hide them from him as if he didn't have access to both my Garmin and Strava. So he would just, he would comment on some of my, like my things with, with the eyes like, dude, I'm seeing what you're doing. After a while, it finally clicked. He's like, dude, you can't skip any more long runs. You have to decide you're going to do this or not. And I tried to use every excuse I could think of to not run the LA Marathon. When it caught on fire, when LA caught on fire, this will be the thing that cancels the marathon, because they canceled the half marathon out in Pasadena. And I'm like, okay, they're going to cancel the marathon. Nope, they didn't do that. They did not cancel. I'm like, okay, so I'm either going to do this or I'm not going to do it. And at this point, it wasn't trying to do my best. It was finishing. I got to LA. I was with my mom. I was with my brother. And I'm just sitting there like, am I actually going to do this? Like, I was legit like, I don't know if I'm actually going to run this. I was like, I was in tears, not wanting to do this. I'm like, I don't think I can do this day of the marathon. And I did a fundraiser with the McCourt Foundation, and the president of the company, I think Brian McCourt, came up to me and we talked, and he was like, I understand the jitters. I understand, the nervousness stuff, dude. You're going to go do something that not many people could say that. They say the 0.01% in the world have ever run these things. You're about to become one of those people. The fear is going to be there. The nervousness is going to be there. Just run. Go out there and run. And, I talked to him. I talked to family, and I was like, all right, let's go do it. And my mindset shifted. And I was like, okay, let's go. It took me 6.5 hours, but I can proudly say I ran a marathon, and it wasn't easy. It was one of the hardest things of my life, and it was a challenge, but I also enjoyed every bit of it. I got to meet Julie Weiss, the marathon goddess who ran 52, marathons in 1 year. She was running it, and I just ran right behind her. I was like, I know you. I've been listening to your story on my audiobooks. I've listened to it 3 times that I was training for this marathon, and I got to meet her. She's such a nice person. But I walked, I ate donuts, I used, the bathroom. I did everything you weren't supposed to do for a marathon. I did all that shit. And I just enjoyed the experience because I knew that I was going to run 26.2. I was going to get there no matter what. And there were still people who it took them 12, 13 hours to run that thing. 6.5 means nothing to me. My goal was to finish, and I set out to do that. At the end of the day, everybody's going to do it differently. You're going to see people that BQ, the ones who are sitting here running these marathons sub 3 hours. There's going to be people like that who are, having stories like me, that they lost a lot of weight and this is their way to come back. They've had these, terrible accidents, and they're trying to get their way back. Just seeing all these stories and seeing how there's no one size fits all when it comes to the story for everybody that goes on these journeys. People are just, there's so many different things, and I cling to all of those, and I'm just like, you know what? I get to now say I'm a part of that crowd that, went out there. My story is totally different, but I did this. I did it for me, but somehow my story is going to affect others. It was hard. It was intense. The 26.2 mile training to build up to that was nuts. My story is just so unorthodox. Nothing is like straight, it's all over the place, but I did it. And, at the end of the day, no one can take that away from me. No one, no matter what happens to me in my life, you can never take away from the fact that I am a marathoner.
You are a marathoner. Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think it's good to remember that everyone is running their own race. Like, you have to run your race. You're not running the person next to you's race. You're running your own journey, and same with life. But the other thing I want to comment on that's so interesting about running is that it's the only sport where you line up with the elites. You're running with the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Like, you're all doing it together. Other sports, you're not anywhere near the elites, Like, it's so interesting to me.
That's true. And it's funny because for me, when I started running, I was always in the back. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going up there with them. I'm just not doing that. But like when I ran the LA Marathon Foundation, the fundraisers were at the front. So we got to do wave A. And it was just the funniest thing in the world when we started running, and like at least 300 people immediately got in front of me. I was like, hey, let's go. I was like, shit. I'm like, okay. All right, it's funny. It's like, it's seeing that even in smaller races, when I used to start, when I was near the front, not necessarily at the front, and people would just kind of take off in front of me, it's just like, 30, 40 people immediately doing that. Funniest thing in the world. But now, as I'm starting to become faster, I'm not anywhere near the elites yet, but I'm on my way. That is a goal of mine. My goal is to become an elite runner because I'm 40 years old as well. I will be 41 in December. And it's just like, what am I doing with my life? What's something I want to do and to push myself to something that I've never imagined. And becoming an elite runner is there. I hope to be an elite runner by the time I'm 43, 44 years old. Seeing how, I'm taking off running now, and there's not that many people that are in front of me anymore. That is a beautiful feeling. It's just like, you know what? Just to see that I've been both of those. And I'm not going to shame someone behind me because look, hey, I want you to catch up to me the same way I caught up to all these other people. I see some of the people on these races that we're like family now. I call them my run cousin. They're like, dude, you did good today. I was like, yeah, I'm knocking on your door. I'm talking shit to him, but I'm also like, I'm encouraging him, like, keep doing what you're doing, but know that I'm on your tail because I want to get to where you are. It's no knock on you. It's like, it has nothing to do with you. It's just other than I see where you are. I want to get there. And when I get there, we're going to rumble for the top spot because I just want to keep going. I want to push myself until there's nothing left and then go further than that. That is my goal. So yeah, lining up with people who are elite and running these races, like the race series that I have, just seeing people who are just coming doing 18-minute 5Ks. And then you have people who are doing them in an hour, but everybody has different goals and we end up at the same destination. I love that. I'm every bit of here for that.
Yeah. It's cool to see the progress you've made in just 2 years, like where is that arc going? I mean, you have so much potential. We all have so much potential in us. It's how bad do you want it,
Absolutely.
But
Seriously.
I wanted to ask you, do you have any aspirations to ever be an ultra runner?
Yes.
You
I don't
say
know
that
if I
with
want to be. Yeah, because it's
hesitation.
not, because David Goggins made that sound so appealing. And again,
Yeah.
when I'm running and like when I run my races, I'm listening to him in my audiobooks. Every race, I'm listening to Never Finish because Can't Hurt Me is just so triggering. And his story is just crazy. So I listened to Never Finish where he is on his way back. It's the comeback where he's just like, okay, I took time off. I had my heart surgeries. Now I'm going to, go back and do it. And, and he's talking about Badwater and he's talking about, Leadville and he's talking about Moab 240. I will never go anywhere near Moab 240. Man, and I hope I'm saying that right now and it's true because if I end up running Moab 240, I mean, that's just going to be insane in itself. But to answer your question, yes. And Don, my boy Don is just like, you and I are going to run an ultra together. I was like, yeah, hell yeah. If you're doing it, Don, I'll do it. I'll train for that because having someone like that, like little brother, like trying to, push me to go forward. I'm all for that. Yes, at some point I probably will do an ultra, but let me get past this second marathon and see if I feel the same way. Because if I can do a sub 5-hour marathon without the breaks and all this other stuff, I think, I'll feel much better about, trying to do an ultra.
I feel ya. Yeah, what's fun about ultras is all the marathons I've trained for, it's very rigid, strict training. When you get there, everyone's kind of just really intense. But ultras are like, let's F it up. Like it's a bunch of misfits, It's just like a really
Yeah.
fun culture, more laid
Yeah.
back. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the ultra running world has gotten wild. Like, now there's the Arizona 300. I'm like, how far are we going, guys? Like,
God,
eventually we
seriously.
have to cap it,
Right. Like, and the question is, why at this point? It's like, yeah, we just want to see how far you can go. But why? Why are you setting some new goal that everybody has to do? And I've seen these people who've done the transcontinental stuff where they start in California, go to New York. Again, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, I mean, like, what trauma are you dealing with that's causing you to think this? Go how far we go. Because I know mine, and mine is pretty good at 26.2. I'm pretty damn good right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is cool. And I will say this. Another thing for me personally, it has been good to see people do these things and set these goals and everything like that. Another reason why I'm doing the things that I'm doing is because as a marginalized person, as a Black man, and seeing how health is a big issue for us, I'm only speaking from my own community personally, but me knowing that we struggle with diabetes, we struggle with, heart attacks and blood pressure and cholesterol and stuff like that, being able to get out and do these things is important. But you also don't see people like us in these races as much. It's a cool thing that I joined this Facebook group called Black Runners Connection because I am starting to see that more. There are a lot of us out there, but it's still not as prevalent. So to see people running ultras, see Black people, see, Hispanic people running ultras and getting out there and doing more, it gives me hope that, hey, this is something that we can do too. So yeah, maybe I will start running ultras to show us, hey, this is for everybody. So yeah, yes, I have thought about it. I'm just like, it is something that is appealing. But I would probably start with like 50K or something like that before, I start taking it either any further than that.
Never say never, right?
Yeah, for real.
I have one more question before we do the lightning round. I wanted
Yes.
to ask you how your race series came to be because you have a race series, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I am the director of the We Run Gwinnett Race Series. Thank you for letting me share that. So in 2024, it was near the end of the year. I was running a race in the, Athens area, the Black Bag or class, yeah, Black Bag Race Series. And they have like hundreds of races. Like they have so many different races. But the way that it works, that every time you run a race, you get points. And I'm like, I think that's pretty cool. And the more points you get like these rewards, awards, and stuff like that. I just thought it was neat. With my run club, the Metro Mile Mafia, which is out here in Gwinnett County, we do something based on the point system too, that the amount of points you get a badge, you get a jacket, you get a letter jacket, you get, the higher up you get into the Hall of Fame, things like that. Like I want this to be an incentive. But I started thinking of both of those things together. I was like, we don't have something uniform here in Gwinnett. You either have to go somewhere else or you have to go to Atlanta for anything that is a little bit more well known. So I'm like, why not do something here? There's so many things that are done here. There's fundraisers and charities. And there's different companies that come out here and do stuff, but there's not like a straight up race series where, you're going all over the county doing different parks, different, locations. So I'm like, why not? I just didn't see anything else out there. That's how I started my run club. And that's how I started the We Run Gwinnett Race Series. I'm just like, let's just get out there and, just run it. We have 6 races this year. The goal is to hopefully expand to anywhere between 8 to 15 next year. And the goal is every time you run a race with us, you earn points. For this year, you only need to run the first 3 of the 5 races. And then you qualify for our championship in December. And whoever finishes that with the most points, male and female, men and women, will be declared our first king and queen of Gwinnett. Like I want it to be something big. And, it's been an amazing experience so far. We've done 2 races. Our next one is in 2 weeks, September 7th. We have one every month until December. And we're going to try to hit the ground running in 2026 and make it even bigger.
I think that's so fun. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I love it so much. I love it.
Yeah.
You're out here changing people's lives. I love it.
Try my best
So
to.
we have made it to the lightning round of our episode. I asked the same
Nice.
5 questions to each guest. It's a fun get to know
Okay.
you game to close out the interview.
Yeah.
So the first question is you're given 3 options. You have to pick one. Would you shark dive, bungee jump, or skydive?
Good God. I'd probably skydive because at least I know that if I have that parachute or something, that's what I'm going for. Bungee
Okay.
jumping is scary and no sharks, no.
No sharks. No. Okay, number 2. You're in a simulation. Every time you walk into a room, the same song plays. What's your song?
Cruising, D'Angelo, favorite song of all time.
Okay, love it.
Yeah.
Number 3. What is your favorite Disney movie?
Robin Hood, the cartoon. It's just,
Okay.
and my kids hate it because I watch it so many damn times.
That's actually a good one. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
Number 4. What is something you're obsessed with?
Something I am obsessed with, outside of running, karaoke probably. That's one of my favorite things to do when I have the time to do it. Yeah.
I bet you kill some karaoke.
I mean, I've known to, bring a karaoke bar down from time to time.
That's awesome. All right, last question, number 5. What does freedom mean to you?
Okay, that one's harder. Freedom for me personally means that there are no restrictions, there are no bondage. You have the ability to walk anywhere and do anything, and it doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, where you come from. I believe we have some work to do. And I think at the end of the day, as long as we keep fighting for that freedom for everybody, we'll get there.
Yeah, that was a great answer. I
Yeah.
can't thank you enough for coming on. Your story's going to help so many people. When I listen to you tell your story, you have big goals for yourself. And I love that so much because I do that too. And I
Yeah.
think that's what gives people hope and motivates people, like seeing you
Yeah.
have these big goals, achieving these goals, and then setting bigger goals after. Like, that's the
Yes.
cool part to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just how it is. I mean, I'm just going to be continuously chasing the next big thing, next big goal, or whatever. And when I see something that's taken off, okay, cool. What can we do to enhance that? Okay, let's add on top of it. I'm just going to keep doing that for the rest of my life. And if I keep doing that, I'm not going to be that 350-pound dude sitting on on the couch wasting away thinking, when will I ever start living my life? Because I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right, can't thank you enough. Have a good night.
You as well. Thank you.